Oh, salutations everyone, my name is Allan Aldroid, and don't mind me, I'm just getting ready for a funeral. PlayStation's funeral to be precise, and before you say something like, hang on, PlayStation isn't dead yet, honey, be reasonable.
Hey, PlayStation? You doing okay, buddy? You seem a bit self-destructive as of late. To say that PlayStation has been making some not-so-great choices is probably the biggest understatement since last Thursday. I don't think I've seen a company roll a Nat 1 regarding company decisions consecutively this badly, and it's definitely taking a toll on its reputation. It's sad to see one of the biggest pillars of gaming be so willing to implode on itself, and lack the self-awareness to see why people are losing their love for PlayStation. And that's where I come in.
Hello!
Today we'll be talking about the recent controversies PlayStation's found themselves in and try to document how PlayStation went from being one of the titans of gaming to the unfortunate punching bag of today. Who knows, we might find a way for PlayStation to pull themselves out of this mess. Or if anything, find a couple of jokes to tell at the eulogy. Let's travel back in time to November 2020 and the release of the PS5. This machine sold out instantly, and it seemed like Sony were on track to be the kings of this console generation, with people scrambling furiously to pick up a PS5. The hype was insane. So how did it go so horribly wrong? Chapter 1. Gaming and Shaming. I've already partially covered this before, and everyone and their grandmothers has already complained about it, so I'll keep this brief. For a console that's in its 6th year of life, I am baffled that it has less exclusive games than the Nintendo Switch 2. And to make matters worse, we're already hearing talks about the upcoming PlayStation 6, as if that's going to make anything better regarding the current state of console gaming. No one's gonna be excited for a new console after their current one leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know if it's me, but I'm really struggling to see the next generation of gaming when all we really have are sequels that don't do that much different, or games that crash and burn weeks after launch. I get it. Game development cycles are getting longer and longer, so companies are going to be pivoting towards safer options. But it doesn't really excite anyone when they're all needlessly live service games or take years to launch after reveal. So instead of constantly looking to the future, why not put more effort into what we have now? Give the consumers a proper reason to invest in PlayStation. That's one way of doing it, I guess. Due to some problems of the AI variety, prices for all types of hardware are skyrocketing, because the cost of living crisis was looking just a bit too manageable at the moment. Now, picture this. You're one of the big 3 pillars of gaming. You make consoles that millions of people will buy and play, and you're being pressured to raise prices. There's nothing you can do. You have to do it. It sucks. And you know it. You've been put in charge of delivering the message that will make sure customer unrest is as minimized as possible. Do you A. announce a price increase several months in advance? B. try adding incentives like free or discounted games as a bonus? C. maybe at least apologize? D. shit on the consumer?
What do you think they chose?
The fact that they did this twice in the same way is comically villainous. I get it. Prices are going up and nobody wants that. Even if you play your cards right, try and be as transparent as possible. Coming up with schemes to make consoles more affordable, offer deals on system selling games, even saying sorry. You didn't even say sorry. PlayStation's increased the price of the PS5 twice now due to pressures in the global economic landscape, and each time the announcement feels so cold and robotic. Xbox have announced another price increase for the 1st of August, and while not great, at least tried to be open to its audience. Even offering new ways for people to afford new Xboxes via financing schemes or refurbished models. Nintendo announced their price increase in May, and is due to take effect in September. That's a 4-month window for people to prepare for. Sony barely offered a week before adding an extra $100 to the price tag. Again, Again, I don't like the price increase, no one does. It sucks for everyone that the entire world has to suffer because Jimmy Data Center needs another graphics card to fart out more slop for Facebook. However, Sony honey, you're not really doing yourself any favours, are ya?
This is an issue plaguing every corner of the tech sector, and quite frankly, it's bumming me out. Might as well fire up my PlayStation and watch a couple of movies. Oh.
Chapter 2. You own nothing and you will like it. This is more of a UK issue, but it's another factor regarding companies not actually letting us own the content we buy. Rather, you're only buying a license to watch/play a product, which we can all agree is diabolically stupid. For the rest of the world, however, did you know that due to a licensing deal, PlayStation is removing a bunch of paid movies and TV shows off of their service? Okay. That sucks. Just, how many are we talking about? 551? Yes, you heard that correctly. Due to a licensing contract with Studio Canal, 551 TV shows and movies that users have paid for are being stripped from their accounts. What the hell? I mean, this doesn't come as a surprise. Companies have been chopping and changing content on their streaming platforms for ages now, axing and removing shows that they even made off of their sites. Which sucks, but hey, that's the world of streaming now. However, when it comes to paid content and movies that you purchased being stripped away from you, of course people are going to be pissed. I get licensing agreements are hell, and sometimes companies just like to be nincompoops and try and gum up the works for others, but this is yet another example of how awful these digital licenses are, and no matter how much money you sink into a company's repertoire, your likelihood of being screwed over keeps getting bigger by the day. It's not like these are just small movies either. These affect films like Terminator 2, Paddington, Rambo. They even killed Sharknado. Regardless of how culturally relevant these films or TV shows are, the fact that 551 of them can be exterminated in a couple of months' time is awful. Well, if I can't watch a film or something, maybe I can play one of the games I've got for my PlayStation 5. Just a side note, my internet's been on the fritz recently, but luckily I have all of the games I want downloaded onto my system. Maybe I should stop talking. In another exciting adventure into the You Don't Own Anything Anymore saga, PlayStation's recently rolled out a DRM check on any digital software sometime in April 2026. This doesn't affect any titles you've bought previously, thank goodness. However, every new digital game comes with a 30-day DRM timer, in which your system will need an internet connection to validate your license to play said game. If the timer runs out, you're locked out of the game until PlayStation can revalidate your license.
I'm gonna be honest, this is such a nothing burger issue.
I think the initial reaction to this announcement is incredibly telling about the state of trust at the moment in the gaming world. Couple that with the fact that there wasn't even really a clear announcement on the issue. This was just something that people found on their own. This was something that was silently added to both PS4 and PS5. However, the actual time left to validate was something you'd only see on PS4. Couple that with some poor reporting and fake support messages, and people were not happy about it. Sony did, however, crawl out of the woodwork to explain that this wasn't a monthly check-in, rather a one-time validation check the console runs. All you need is an internet connection and the license is updated to a permanent one. Permanent being in quotation since we know how volatile that can mean nowadays. This change feels unnecessary, and people have offered up scenarios where this could be a detriment to the consumer. But at the same time, how often will you be in that situation? Ooh, look, you've installed a new game into your system, you've waited 30 days to play it, and when you do, you've somehow lost the ability to connect to the internet, and you have no other games you want to play. Man, I hate when that happens. Not to mention that this has been a feature on Xbox since 2013. I get PlayStation's not great at the moment, but panicking isn't going to help.
It's not great either way, but all the more reason why physical games reign supreme. You just pop the disc in and never have to worry about it being stripped away from you. Who'd want to take that away? You rotten little shit!
Yeah, this is something worth panicking about. The most recent and biggest controversy that PlayStation's dug themselves into is the fact that come January 2028, PlayStation will no longer be releasing physical copies of games onto their platforms. A decision that's been met with an astounding... Once again, the news was broken to us in a short and anything but sweet blog post, blaming a shift in consumer preferences that gave Sony the bright idea to kill off all physical games. Now, I don't think you need me to tell you how stupid of an idea this suggestion is. We just need to look into the comments for that. Yes, digital games have been on the rise more and more. PC gaming is almost exclusively digital games. However, what separates stores like Steam to console markets is the fact that gaming is being constantly barraged with games shutting down and no longer being accessible. Games like Jump Force, for example, are now only playable via disc. Even if you bought the game digitally, you won't be able to reinstall the game. Boom. Gone. Games get delisted off of Steam all of the time due to similar reasons. Heck, I've got a couple of delisted games myself. However, I'm still able to download and play these games whenever I want. I'm sure there are exceptions to this rule, but I feel like I actually own these games and I'm not gonna have that ripped away from me. With every shutdown, every game that's swept under the rug, every film that's delisted, the people's hatred for these practices grows bigger and bigger. There are so many games that now only exist as physical copies. Digital doesn't equal ownership and people are sick of it. People like owning things. I like owning things. I love my physical games. Good or bad, I really like them. It's not even just owning games. Buying them now is going to get more expensive. With physical, stores are able to adjust the prices however they see fit. Games can go on sale, there might be better prices out there. Used games, for example. Can't resell your old games anymore. Doesn't matter if it's bad, if you played it, you're keeping it. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. You can't even download the game, otherwise you're voiding the ability to refund the game. When you eliminate physical, you're stuck paying the mandated prices on the only store you could buy it from. This is a set price. Get used to it. If you want it cheaper, you better hope that the developer lowers the price. And we all know how unlikely that is for first-party games. Spider-Man 2 is still £70. Last of Us 1 Remake is £70. God of War, you get the drill at this point. This decision screams of corporate greed, no matter how many statements of market conditions you throw into the pot. This isn't just a Sony issue, you can see these types of pricing on the other consoles as well, but at least there's always physical games to fall back on, and even then they're still better off, as Nintendo for example are now selling digital games for cheaper compared to physical. Retailers are able to price the game as they like, however they're more likely to match the digital price because... I don't know, sales and stuff. Even then, Nintendo games say for Mario Kart World have been pricing their games pretty well, especially after having to raise the prices for their hardware. We've seen more £50 to £60 games coming back even for their big releases. I really don't know what the thought process was that went into this decision. Surely someone at Sony was smart enough to say, hey guys, this isn't gonna go well for us. People have started to speculate that this is a sneaky little strategy going on between the upcoming GTA 6 and the move to digital, as it was previously announced that we would not be getting a physical release for the game. If you did order a physical copy, all that come in the box is a download code, which obviously sucks. People wanted to get physical versions of these games. This is probably the highest anticipated game of all time. Of course people want to buy it physically. Who wants a game box with a friggin' key code in it? Pre-orders for physical are dropping off like flies, and people think that PlayStation are going to use that low number to validate the switch towards digital. And I believe it. At the very least, I can see them trying to pull off this stunt considering how corporate and cold their previous statements have been. And if they do, come on guys. With a consumer base that's growing acute awareness for every business arrangement, trust diminishing by the day, why do companies still think that they can get away with stupid decisions and expect people to lap it up? I'm not really sure where you can go from this. Even if Sony does a 180, which they seem adamant not to do, there doesn't seem like there's a way back. This isn't even a final nail in the coffin situation, this is more like throwing an atom bomb on top of the gravesite. The trust is super dead, and tensions are high regarding PlayStation. There's been far too much in a short time span that's upset a lot of people, and some drastic anti-consumer choices that have left massive scars that may never heal. So is that the end for PlayStation? I honestly don't know. I don't know what's in store for them, or how they're going to come back from this. Hell, they might not even bother trying and just pray that their most loyal fans will continue to buy. When the PlayStation 6 finally rolls around, I think that will be the most telling time to see how much people still trust Sony. It's all well and good screaming at the top of your lungs that this is the end for me regarding PlayStation, but will people actually stick to that, or will the flashy lights of the PS6 hook them back in? How far can Sony go with destroying the trust with the consumer? That got depressing there at the end, and I'd hate to end on a sour note, so what can we do? Well, keep making your voice heard. Not by just mass tweeting hate towards the social media intern, that's not going to do anything. Do things like cancelling your PlayStation subscriptions, hit them in their wallets. There's a game you want? Why not buy it physically? Or, better yet, used games. Better value for you, and it's a middle finger to Sony. When the PS6 rolls around, ask yourself, do you really need it? Hell, will you even be able to afford it? It's cheaper to buy Freddy Fazbear than a game console at the moment. Get that! At least that'd be fun.
Sony's in a bit of a pickle regarding their not so nice business practices, but I think I might be able to help. I've actually written a letter to Mr. PlayStation demanding that he brings back physical games right this instant. In response to your letter, I've decided to cancel all physical games effective immediately and raise the price of digital games to $100. Have an awful day. Joke's on them. That's only £74.35 here in England. The UK wins